nobody gives a shit about whether you're having fun. Do you think that's what we're here for? So that you have fun? But the use of fun in this video astounds me. Hi, my name is Hannah. Welcome back to my channel, Hannah Needs to Yell, and today I need to yell about Colleen Ballinger. I know, I'm really breaking some news here, spilling some scalding hot tea that's been seeping since early June, but no matter. We all know that I was on a mental health break, and now I finally have the energy to sit down and talk about this terrible situation. Now, I know I told you in my last video that I'll be turning my live streams into my edited videos, and I'm kind of doing that this time, but I'm also adding in a lot of separately filmed footage
in order to keep me on topic, which my live stream on this subject simply was not.
So yeah, if you want to see my full raw reactions to Colleen's Hi video and the Toxic Gossip Train song and the Vanity Fair article that has become infamous for good reason, I recommend watching the live stream that I did, and go ahead and watch it on 1.5 or 2 times speed because I was talking really slow. But this video is going to come at this topic from a very specific, narrow angle. Partly because I don't want to really go over the same talking points that everybody has already talked about with this, but also because I want to lay the foundation for my Colleen Ballinger series that I'm starting now with this video, because there is a lot to talk about here and there was no way I could put it all into one video. You see, since June 3rd, 2023, a lot of former fans have been making some very serious allegations against Colleen Ballinger, who's probably best known for her overconfident theater kid character, Miranda Sings. If you're watching this video, you're probably already familiar with the allegations, or at least the broad brushstrokes of them, like allegations of using her fans for free labor, exploiting minors on stage at her live shows, fat phobia, racism, G-wording her minor fans, having very inappropriate conversations with minors in group chats, and even sending adult media produced by her friend at the time to multiple fans, one of whom was a minor at the time, as a joke. Yeah, the alleged list allegedly goes on. I've watched this story closely while many complex, intertwined allegations piled up, and while Colleen bewildered everyone by saying nothing in response. Yet after almost a month of
Unrelenting coverage on YouTube,
internet news sites, and increasingly mainstream media outlets, something even more bewildering happened. On June 28th, 2023, Colleen published Hi, a YouTube video in which she stared intensely at the camera, picked up a ukulele, and sang a bitter ditty about a toxic gossip train. Needless to say, this response to such serious allegations was not received well. Probably due to backlash from that video, we didn't hear from Colleen again until July 19th when Vanity Fair published an article called How the Miranda Sings / Colleen Ballinger Scandal Went Off the Rails. Everything you need to know about the drama tearing YouTube apart. This was the only article in over 6 weeks of coverage where Colleen's team actually responded to requests for comment and gave any statements to the media on her behalf. That makes this article very valuable to the overall story of this, even though to me it seems to have a very serious journalistic flaw. But we'll get to that later. Anyway, these 2 statements from Colleen, the Toxic Gossip Train video and the Vanity Fair article, are what bring us together today. Starting with the next episode of this series, I will be addressing chronologically the voluminous allegations against Colleen Ballinger and her associates. I believe they are important to talk about so that we can raise awareness about the potential dangers in Colleen's community and reflect on how all YouTubers can build better, healthier communities and make YouTube overall a better place. But before we get into all of that, I want to start with this episode where we hear Colleen's side of the story, now that she has finally told it. There are a few reasons for this. From a practical standpoint, her 2 statements are pretty quick to cover compared to the mountain of allegations against her. So we can cleanly and concisely put her side of the story out there before we move on to the rest. taking this moment at the beginning to examine Colleen's statements in her own words, out of her own mouth, or out of her representatives' mouths, also means that no one can ever say that we never listened to Colleen's side of the story or that we took her out of context. But most compellingly to me, this way we can see Colleen's story how she wants us to see it, untainted by the other side. Think about it. As all this happened, Colleen probably knew that her remaining fans would be the diehards, the stans, the ones who would listen to her and trust her over everybody else. Colleen's superfans, who are probably kids and teens with deep parasocial loyalties to her, probably weren't watching every commentator's deep dive on this topic, or tuning into every single hour-long update from Adam McIntyre. Instead, they've probably been skimming through damning headlines, bottling up their confusion, and waiting with bated breath for their friend Colleen to say something, to explain everything, to prove the haters wrong. When Colleen finally spoke up, they probably trusted her words over all others, simply because they came from her, their parasocial bestie. And I'm certain that Colleen predicted this was how they would react to everything. So I'm very curious to examine Colleen's statements to see how she uses them to communicate with her remaining superfans. Because at the end of the day, I think these are the people that Colleen feels she needs to save face with the most. With that said, Colleen's statements are also meant for the rest of us, the alleged victims, the ex-fans, and the onlookers. I think it's important to hear what Colleen has to say in response to countless allegations. I also think it's important to hear what Colleen does not say in response to countless allegations. Silence speaks volumes, and the places where Colleen has remained silent speak very loudly to me. So let's explore Colleen Ballinger's statements on all of the very serious allegations made against her recently. We'll take a toxic gossip train ride over to the Vanity Fair article, all the while seeing what Colleen is willing to state and where her silence speaks volumes. Before we board the train, let me just remind everybody, everything in this video is my personal opinion and my speculation based on available evidence, but at the end of the day, I wasn't there. I don't know for sure. Take everything with a grain of salt. You know this, you're smart. Let me also add that this video is not meant to send hate to anybody. Please do not take anything that I am saying and use it as fuel to harass or dox or otherwise annoy anybody on the internet. Take what you hear, think about it, apply it to your own life actions and choices, and move on from there.
Finally, while we're not going to deep dive into the allegations today, please note that today's video will include references to and discussions of manipulative behavior, gaslighting, inappropriate relationships between adults and minors, power imbalances, parasocial relationships, the legal system, mental health struggles, real and or potential exploitation and harm of children, and other potentially sensitive topics based on publicly available evidence and first-hand accounts. So please, if any of those topics sound difficult for you, or during the video if you realize something coming up is going to be difficult for you, please do not feel obligated to stay. When I do the timestamps for this video, I will try to put the appropriate warning alongside each section just in case, so you can skip any concerning sections. But it's also totally okay if you need to skip this video entirely and protect your mental health. If that's you, now is a good time to leave. Go in peace, my friend. But for the rest of us who are sticking around.
Before we go, let's just check. Are you ready? Do you have a drink? Do you have a snack? Are you cozy? Are you ready to settle in? Good. Let's dive in.
Statements and silence. Chapter 1. Hi.
So I want to go in chronological order. I have a few different versions of Colleen's video pulled up here just in case I have any copyright problems in the future. Let's look at Colleen's statements in Hi. I'm going to give us a transcript. I think that the specific words that were chosen matter. They're going to matter a lot in the potential legal action that may or may not be taken. People have definitely made allusions to taking legal action, but I don't know. As we watch this, let's just keep in mind, this is her response at the tipping point of her career after a month of the internet being saturated in these allegations and accusations. This is what she is able to come out with. As we can see, this very serious face. She's really taking this
seriously, here on her Colleen Vlogs second channel with about 30% of the subscribers that her other channel has. Let me know how the sound is. First of all, I have this on 1.25 speed. So she grabs the uke. I had mixed feelings when I saw the ukulele because I know that Colleen is a musical theater kid at heart still. I do say the word kid on purpose. But yeah, a lot of people were immediately shocked by the presence of the ukulele.
Hey, it's been a while since you saw my face. I haven't been doing so great, so I did a little break. So a lot of people are saying some things about me that aren't quite true. Doesn't matter if it's true though, just as long as it's entertaining to you.
So I wish you would clarify what's true or not.
But vague or not, a statement is a statement. So I'll add it to our list. We'll see how far this gets her. Another thing I want to mention, and I know that we're a little bit early in the video to necessarily see this, if somehow this is your first time seeing this video, I'm sure it's not. But I want to say that in a way, Colleen's demeanor in this video is a statement in and of itself. And this is certainly my opinion much more than necessarily a fact. So, you know, take this with a grain of salt. But I'm saying this because I watch a good amount of LawTube. One of the people that I really like to watch is Natalie Lawyer Chick. And she's a public defender. So she is the person who, you know, when you're being arrested and you're being read your rights, and one of your rights is that you have the right to an attorney, even if you can't afford one. Natalie is the type of attorney that you get if you can't afford one, and she's wonderful and very good at her job. So Natalie has talked a bit about the statements that defendants make and how their attitude and their demeanor has an impact on whether or not the jury believes them and what happens to them at the end of the day. In this instance, I think that Colleen's snarky, sarcastic, bitter, obstinate, condescending demeanor is not going to help her. And just as a judge in a courtroom can take into account whether or not a defendant seems contrite and self-reflective, I think that the rest of us in the court of public opinion can take into account whether or not the person making a response video, because clearly this is not an apology video, is making their response with the seriousness that it deserves. I think that the evident sarcasm throughout this video speaks to how seriously Colleen takes these allegations.
Also, this right here... So, you know how you guys notice sometimes when I'm making a video that I will smile when it might not seem appropriate? You see how she's smiling here? She's smiling out of like bitter anger and sarcasm. That's often, if I'm smiling in my video, it's this smile. It's this condescending, bitchy, petty smile. Not to you, the audience member, but usually to the subject of my video. And that's exactly what Colleen is doing here. Now, it's entertaining, isn't it? To the subject of her video, which I don't think this video is for us. I think this video is a letter to Adam, Johnny, Ella, Becky, Alex, Oliver, the various people who've come forward. Anybody who has the audacity to say something about herself that she wouldn't say.
Right? You guys having fun? All aboard the toxic gossip train, chugging down the tracks of misinformation. The toxic gossip train, you got a one-way ticket to manipulation station. Toxic gossip train, tie me to the tracks and harass me for my past. These rumors look like facts. If you don't mind the gaps, I won't survive in the crash. But hey, at least you're having fun.
Okay, Call. We really are having a good time, aren't we, everyone? So, the fun thing about this chorus, which the melody stays the same a few times throughout the song, but the words will change. The fun thing about this particular chorus is that it doesn't necessarily make a lot of direct statements, but it does paint a picture. We're introducing the train concept, turning this video from a just general non-apology response video to a choo-choo sing-along non-apology response video. Some would consider that an upgrade, others wouldn't. Next, there are a few lyrics here that are a little unclear to me. This transcription by Newsweek says, "chatter down the tracks of misinformation." I always thought that it was driving down the tracks. Tell me what you think she says there. So she introduces the train imagery. She makes it clear that people who are talking about her are spreading misinformation and gossip, and it's toxic, and there's manipulation going on, dropping a lot of words that somehow she's not applying to herself. And we'll talk about that in future episodes because there is some irony here, but right now it doesn't really come through. Most importantly, in the second half, I would say, of the stanza, she makes it about herself. She says that she's being tied to the tracks and harassed for her past. And in my opinion, that's kind of the closest that we come to a statement here, because she puts all the events that we're talking about in her past. She points out that rumors look like facts if you don't mind the gaps. More train imagery, very fancy. I disagree with Newsweek here about this lyric. I think it's, I won't survive in the trash. I think it says, I won't survive in the crash. So if we go off of what I hear and what I think a lot of people hear, then especially there, if not also the being tied to the tracks thing, she makes herself very obviously, very, dare I say, ham-fistedly into being the victim of everybody else's train gossip attack. So if it wasn't clear up until now, it's flashing at you and blaring red lights that she is the victim. So even though she doesn't say those exact words, it is so clearly described here that I feel comfortable saying it on my statement list. This imagery does bring me back to the idea that I mentioned earlier on about those fans of hers who are trusting her word more than anybody else's, and who maybe have not been watching all the deep dives and all the commentators and seeing every scrap of evidence that Adam McIntyre has pointed out. I wonder how those super fans are experiencing this chorus where she's so clearly portraying herself as the victim of everybody else's vicious, unnecessary attacks. And that's why I think that the harass me for my past line is particularly important, and important enough to be a statement on my list. In my opinion, this line is one of those communications that Colleen is having with her current fans as a way of essentially putting forward a defense that they can use to defend her online, which a lot of them spend time doing. That these things that everybody's upset about happened in her past, her vague past. Also, all of the references to this just being toxic gossip and manipulation and basically downplaying everything and calling it lies, that's also ammunition to her fan base, in my opinion. Let's keep going.
At least you're having fun. Hi everyone. I've been wanting to come online and talk to you about a few things. Even though my team has strongly advised me to not say what I want to say, I recently realized that they never said that I couldn't sing what I want to say.
Just because Colleen doesn't listen to her lawyer's advice doesn't mean that the rest of us won't, especially when she just told us what it was and that she didn't listen to it. Very interesting choice to say this in this video.
I am, and today I only want to talk about the facts. So I hope that you'll be willing to listen.
Hi, so that's another huge statement, especially following the one where she just said that her lawyers advised her not to say what she wants to sing in this video. Like the idea that she's only here to talk about the facts, even though she just spent a verse and a chorus not just talking about facts. Maybe that's why your lawyers advised you not to say what you're about to sing in this video. I don't know. I'm no lawyer, I'm no doctor, I'm no professional, but just to me, that seems likely.
Many years ago, I used to message my fans, but not in a creepy way, like...
Many years ago means earlier in 2023, because she was in an Instagram chat called Instaweenies. I think she pulled out of that chat like shortly before or shortly after releasing this video. These screenshots were tweeted or X'd, whatever we say now, on June 23rd, 2023, which was 5 days before Colleen dropped her Hi video song. They're sharing a post from the Colleen Ballinger Snark subreddit, and the post says, "This is what led Colleen to leave the Instaweenies," which is a group chat that she had with certain superfans on Instagram. Let's take a look at the individual screenshots here. The first one shows messages taking place from June 14th of 2023, and you can tell that it's 2023 because the year is not listed. It doesn't need to be listed if it's the current year. The screenshot shows somebody sharing their screenshot of a text they received, I believe, from an alleged victim named Johnny, based on the context of the conversation. I am aware of the most recent updates about Johnny. We will get to it in a different video. He is still an alleged victim according to himself, so I'm leaving it like that right now. I went over to the Snark subreddit myself to try to get a clearer photo, and to be honest, it's not that much clearer. It's this one here. The screenshot they shared reads, "I just genuinely want you to know this 100%, hand on my heart. Things she said to my face on bus tour. I remember it clear as day. We were sitting in front of the hotel waiting for an Uber. She told me she believed you were faking your illness to get closer to her, and she was in the works of writing a movie about a girl who fakes illness to get close to celebrities and then gets exposed as the villain. She was writing a documentary screenplay about you with her brother Chris. This feels so wrong telling you. I genuinely do not want to hurt you with this information. She is diabolical. I'm so sorry, Ella." So on June 14th, somebody shared this screenshot into the InstaWeenies group chat. I would assume that it was Ella who shared it, but I don't know for sure. And confronted Colleen by saying, "You dead ass? Don't ignore it, girl." It seems other members of the chat felt Colleen was taking a while to respond because one said, "The longer you're silent, the worse it's going to get, so don't think that's helping you." The next screenshot shows further down in the group chat where members were posting suspicious memes and talking about whether they would have said something by now if they were Colleen, and even advising Colleen on whether or not to speak up. Messages include things like, "Ain't no way I'ma have SA allegations and be on mute," or having a predatory family member be put on blast and be quiet. "But hell, you told your YouTube friend the best revenge is ignoring it, so I guess we deserve that." And just say something at this point. It's giving guilty. Actually, never mind. It's best to stay quiet now. LOL. It was after that LOL that Colleen Ballinger left the group. At 4 a.m., about 6 hours after, that text message to Ella was posted in the group chat, and I know we can't see her full name there, but that's what the person who posted these screenshots in the Snark subreddit is alleging, and no one has said that it's false. Not even Colleen or her lawyer, whose statements we will discuss later in this video. So I believe that she left the group on June 15th at 4 a.m., which is way more recent than, what did she say in the song? Oh right, many years ago.
I think facts is like an interpretive word for Colleen. I don't really think it's like a solid definition for her.
We were trying to suggest it was more of a loser kind of way, where I was just trying to be besties with everybody.
I accidentally cut Colleen off before in the middle of a pretty important sentence. Yes, I changed my pants. I was feeling too constricted in the shorts. So let's take a look at this all together because it's important. Colleen says, "Many years ago, I used to message my fans, but not in a creepy way like a lot of you are trying to suggest. It was more of a loser kind of way, but I was just trying to be besties with everybody." I think that, again, this transcription might be a little bit off. I think it's supposed to say it was more of a loser kind of way where I was just trying to be besties with everybody. Whatever. She was trying to be besties with her fans, who we all know to be majority minors. So she, as an adult person, was trying to be best friends with minors. I'm going to write that down. So whether you want to call that a creepy thing to do or a loser thing to do, it's in some way weird and unacceptable. Moving on. Oh, sorry. First, before we move on, Colleen is going to give us another analogy for this type of behavior.
It's kind of like when you go to like a family gathering, you know, and there's a weird aunt there who keeps coming up to you and going like, "Hey girl, what's the tea?" And you're like, "Ugh."
I have 2 nephews. One is 7, the other is 3. I have never gone to either of them asking about tea. They are 7 and 3. What possible tea could be going on in their lives, let alone tea that I need to discuss with them? This is not a weird aunt thing to do. This is not an aunt thing to... I don't know what kind of aunt she's talking about. Have any of your aunts ever asked you for the tea? That was me in group chats with my fans, being a weird, not creepy, but loser, weird aunt. A little invasion of privacy, because when that's your aunt, you have an underlying trust, an underlying relationship with that person. They're your family. They're somebody who's been there for you since you were born. Even if you know, because you're a kid, you might not have a great, strong relationship with them because they're like at least 20 years your senior probably, but your parents do, maybe your older siblings do. They're part of your family. You have some trust there. You have some love. You have a bond that's not related to the tea Colleen's bond with strange children about the tea doesn't have any underlying trust. The underlying trust is what's known as a parasocial relationship between those children and herself that is built on nothing but their imagined perception of her based on her highly edited videos and a false character that she portrays on the internet. So I don't really think it's an apt comparison. Also, I still don't think that this type of aunt actually exists. But these are the statements she's making. I was the weird aunt in the group chats with my fans.
That was me, in group chats with my fans. It was weird. I've been sharing my life online for over 15 years. I've poured my heart out to you, and because of that I feel like I'm talking to my friends, but in the beginning of my career, I didn't really understand that maybe there should be some boundaries there.
That was a lot of statements, I think. She's willing to say that she's poured her heart out to children. She doesn't specify children, she says my fans. But we know, based on the content and the context of this whole situation, that her fans are kids. Not completely kids, but at least a large percentage children, minors. I've poured my heart out to you, and because of that, feeling like she's talking to her friends when she's talking to her fans, not knowing that there should be boundaries in that in the beginning of her career. Although, again, I would beg to differ about this being a fact that in the beginning of her career she didn't understand the boundaries, because I think that would apply up until now as well, if she just a few weeks ago was still in group chats on Instagram. And she was willing to say that it was weird for her to be in group chats with her fans. So she's aware of that, and she's willing to state it. No comment on the content of those group chats other than, hey girl, what's the tea? No comment on what she was bringing into the group chats. No comments about what she may or may not have asked them, not just about tea, not just about gossip in their lives, but about periods and virginity and pictures of their body parts and stuff like that. Silence in that regard. Interesting where the silence is. This is what I'm saying. She'll mention it, but not all the way.
There were times in the DMs when I would overshare details of my life, which was really weird to me. I haven't done that for years, you see, because I changed my behavior and I took accountability.
So you'll admit that you overshared in the DMs. Maybe that's a reference to the information that you're being silent about that I just referred to. But as for it being years ago, I already mentioned and showed the screenshots that you were still in a group chat called Instaweenies a couple of weeks before posting this video, so I beg to differ.
In my last video about James Charles and the James Charles article, I commented that, isn't it odd that for some reason Colleen keeps calling these things that she did weird? What she's willing to talk about and admit to, in a way, one might say. She calls it weird. She doesn't call it wrong. She doesn't call it inappropriate. She doesn't call it immoral. She doesn't call it creepy. She doesn't call it out of line. She just calls it weird. These little framings that influencers do portray exactly how they're thinking about something from a PR standpoint more than from an actual, caring, moral standpoint. If she had taken accountability for that behavior, she would still be able and willing to apologize for it now, because she would understand that people have a right to still be upset now about something that took place in the past. She says that she took accountability, but if she's talking about her addressing everything video from 2020, that certainly ain't it. So I don't know when she's talking about taking accountability. She must be referring to something. It must not have been very genuine. If now you don't want people talking about this anymore and you expect and require forgiveness that people are not willing to give you. But she's willing to say it was weird.
But that's not very interesting, is it? So let's go on the toxic gossip train. The locomotive's fueled with hateful accusations. The toxic gossip train. Steamroll over someone's reputation. Toxic gossip train. On board, but close your eyes, otherwise you'll realize that the train is made of lies, and that person you despise maybe didn't deserve to die, but hey, at least you're having fun.
So this chorus has some different lyrics than the first one. In the first half, Colleen clearly states that her accusers are just hateful and want to hurt her reputation. Then she claims that the people who are believing the allegations, so the passengers on the
toxic gossip train,
are closing their eyes, so either they're asleep or they're blinding themselves, so they're not seeing all of the lies the train is made of.
The train is made of screenshots, okay? Let's be real.
All of this, the hateful accusations, the lies, the fact that there are passengers on the train, speak to the potential that I think Colleen may have been planning and possibly threatening here in this chorus to bring a defamation lawsuit against people who were involved in publicizing these allegations. In layman's terms, because I am a layman, I'm not a lawyer, defamation against a public figure is when someone maliciously lies about them and they're caused harm as a result. So there are a couple of things here. First of all, a statement that is publicly made against a public figure or otherwise is not defamation if the statement is true, or the allegation or the accusation. Truth is an ultimate defense against defamation. But secondly, and back to the specifics, I think that Colleen may have been thinking of bringing this defamation case before she published this video, it got ridiculed online, and before she realized how much trouble she might be in to the extent that she hired criminal defense lawyers. This is probably why your lawyers told you not to say the things you decided to sing in this song. You know, Cole?
What she's saying about the person you despise maybe didn't deserve to die. This was something that's echoed in her 2020 apology video called Addressing Everything. In that video, she actually talked about what she's trying to say here. She was getting death threats back in 2020 with the whole Adam McIntyre thing.
Allegedly, according to her at the time, I have not personally seen any proof of this myself.
I think that's what she's referring to here, is that maybe this time she's also getting death threats, and so she's saying, I don't deserve to die. Hard to tell, because she's not really describing it. But yeah, that line sticks out to me every time because it is so vague. So I wanted to just offer my opinion on that and what that means.
In all seriousness.
Sorry to jump back in, but how on God's green earth did Colleen just say, in all seriousness? What is that supposed to mean? As to the whole first half of the song that came before this. Was that all joking? Because she made a lot of statements. Is the chorus a joke? And this after the chorus brings us back to center? What is... Colleen. Remember when I said before that Colleen's demeanor and her attitude throughout this song does come across as some kind of a statement. I don't know, because it's not written down, how seriously it should be taken, like from a legal sense. But the idea that there is some sarcasm in here and that maybe she's not taking this super seriously is supported by her saying, in all seriousness, it is a lot. Your lawyers told you not to, Colleen.
In all seriousness, I do think it's really important to hold people accountable for their mistakes. We should hope that everyone can learn from their mistakes and grow and change their behavior and be a better person. And this is something that I've always tried to do when I make mistakes. It's something that I will continue to try to do. What? Oh, you don't care? Oh, okay.
I can't express to you the rage volcano that came over me when she did that fake out.
Again, it makes me question the sincerity of Colleen's response to this very serious situation, and I don't think that that's a position she wants to be in. It also makes me think that she believes her accusers and people like me are insincerely calling her out, which can become a justification for this insincere response video, especially since she's calling all these allegations lies. And she'll expand more on that idea shortly, but yeah, this whole nonchalant attitude that she has going on right now either tells me that she sincerely does not understand these events, or that she understands but she is firmly planted in a state of vicious denial, or she fully understands, she truly does not care, and she's thinking exactly as strategically as we all fear in these heavy-handed deflection tactics.
You hope that everyone can learn from their mistakes and grow and change their behavior and be a better person. This is something you've always tried to do, etc. What you don't care. These statements are important, but they're immediately invalidated by your follow-up.
You want me to take accountability, but that's not the point of your mob mentality, is it? No. Your goal is to ruin the life of the person you despise while you dramatize your lies and monetize their demise.
And isn't that hypocritical when a minute ago she was just Miss, in all seriousness, I do think it's important for people to take accountability and learn and grow and change. Does not really line up with the angry, bitter sarcasm. And the hypocrisy turns into accusations and allegations against people like me and the people people who are alleging things against her. She says, "Your goal is to ruin the life of the person you despise, not my goal, while you dramatize your lies and monetize their demise." This is a straw man that she's building in a video that later on she's going to say this was a video of her defending herself a little and taking accountability. I don't see any of that here. This is not a defense. This is pointing the fingers at somebody else, anybody but herself.
Now, statements here. How easy would it be for a prosecutor to say, well, Colleen thinks it's really important to hold people accountable for their mistakes, so I would like her to go to jail, please, for 20 years or more. At least she's willing to make that statement. See if she regrets it later. Has anybody seen Runkle of the Bailey? Did a review of this. He's a defense lawyer, criminal defense lawyer. Wonderful, wonderful video.
I feel like I can already hear the comments on this video. She's gaslighting, manipulating. Oh, she's a narcissist and a rat. I would never make a mistake like that. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that all of you are perfect, so please criticize me. Bring out the dagger from your perfect past and stab me repeatedly in my bony little back.
Boy, that stanza could go a ton of different ways and could be interpreted a ton of different ways in a court of law. And I know I keep bringing it back to the idea of a court of law, a trial, lawyers, etc. That's the level that we're on with the allegations that we're talking about here. Colleen has lawyers. Adam McIntyre has talked a lot about speaking with lawyers. It seems like something legal is going to happen here. This much like thick, overt sarcasm, you don't want to do that in this type of piece.
What I mean to say here is that Colleen delivers this stanza sarcastically, and the lyrics seem to be written sarcastically, but to be honest with you, what Colleen means sarcastically, courts are likely to take literally, or lawyers are likely to take literally if it benefits their side and their argument. So, looking at these statements, what do they mean if they're taken literally? And as a result, is she going to regret making these statements?
I know that this video we're looking for statements, but it's hard to know exactly how to write this down because really the statement is like sarcasm, hypocrisy, contradictions. Those aren't really statements, but they're there and it doesn't look good. Oh, right. I can also add straw man since we're summarizing things anyway.
I'm sure you're disappointed in my shitty little song. I know you wanted me to say that I was 100% in the wrong. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna take that route of admitting to lies and rumors that you made up for clout.
She's not going to take the route of admitting to lies and rumors that we made up for clout.
Colleen doesn't state what these lies and rumors are. She also does not make a denial. She's just saying she's not 100% in the wrong and she won't admit to lies and rumors. There are some things she will admit to. Like, she'll make the admissions that are in the song, like the lack of boundaries in the group chats and a couple that are coming up. So certainly some of the stuff that is being talked about is not lies and rumors that are made up for clout. Some of it is real, according to her. But is there more? By keeping it vague and not specifying what is true versus lies, she lets the viewer fill in that blank. I wonder how her super fans would fill in that blank. Maybe finding it to be a complete denial and using that to defend her? I wonder how the rest of us would fill in that blank. Maybe that it's more of an admission than she realizes it is? But there's no time to think about that because she quickly pivots, distracting us with another straw man argument.
Hey everybody, I found someone new to harass. She did things that I do not like in her past. So everybody gather around because we're about to attack, but not based on facts, oh no.
Okay, first of all, I know that I started snapping off beat there, but I promise that was the stream lag that made it off beat because in person it was like really crisp. Anyways, upon further analysis, I found the bridge of this song extremely interesting. In this bridge, Colleen puts herself in the character of someone inciting a hate mob rouser, if you will. As this character, she contradicts herself. First saying that she's attacking the target because they, quote, did some things she does not like in their past, while later saying that her attack is, quote, not based on facts. So, which is it? Did the mob's target do bad things in the past or not? I don't even think Colleen is sure. Is she saying they're like, hi, I'm a big bad mob rouser, and because this influencer did something I don't like in their past, I'm going to spread lies about her. So I'm not going to spread the story of the thing that they did that I think was bad, which would be way easier and would be more likely to succeed in gathering a mob because there's some validity to my claims. Nope, instead of relying on real evidence or real bad experiences that happened, I'm going to put that real hurt aside and take up the much riskier route of making shit up and fabricating evidence. Doesn't that sound fun and entertaining? That's just me, the mob browser, doing my thing. Hop on board my toxic gossip train.
All aboard!
Like, is that the image in Colleen's head? Colleen is being vague again, so let me help her out here. Colleen, honey, once an event is in the past, it doesn't magically transform into an opinion or a lie, and it definitely doesn't just disappear. Something that was done in the past still happened. Old facts are still facts. And people talking about old facts aren't lying. Even when Colleen purposefully plays the villain, she shows that she does not understand why she's being called out. Or at the least, that's what she wants this to look like. Colleen does something very interesting in the second half of this bridge. She changes her character, switching sides and becoming the target of the mob that she just helped to incite. In this character, she projects an intention onto the mob that she didn't even have when she was playing the mob rouser.
Your loaded lethal weapon is your fingers on the keys. You don't need any armor when you can hide behind a screen. So shoot me down quick in the click and bam! My reputation's deceased.
Sorry about the snapping again. Anyway, Colleen paints a picture here of the mob spreading lies about her online, and paints a picture about how they unalive her. Oh, wait, no, sorry. They just unalive her reputation? Right, because we're back to a possible defamation suit land. But this self-victimizing narrative isn't even supported by Colleen's own writing, which portrays the mob as being angry about things that their target, apparently Colleen, did in their past.
It doesn't say anything about her reputation or them having any intention to harm or sully or unalive her reputation of all things. That's what becomes deceased, and it kind of comes out of nowhere, to be honest.
I don't think that her young fan base noticed this back and forth switching of narratives, but I did. So it's one thing if you think that they're lying about you for revenge, although, as I said, that seems far riskier, less convincing in terms of forming a mob, more difficult to accomplish, and therefore much less likely. But if the mob is telling the truth, which you essentially wrote that they were, and that you did things that they do not like in your past, in that case, didn't you unalive your reputation by doing all those bad things? Also, I do think that you're missing the point again, Cole.
No one is trying to tear down your reputation. No one cares about your reputation except for you. They're trying to get justice for Adam, Johnny, Becky, Ella, Oliver, Alex, other people that have spoken out about you and Corey and your brother Trent being creeps and impacting their young lives, allegedly. No one cares about your goddamn reputation.
I also wanted to take a minute to talk about that girl, Miranda Sings. You know the one. Yeah, her. She's PG-13. It says that on my website, and it's always been that way. And that's why you won't find my videos on the YouTube Kids app. Anyway.
This is so absurd. When it comes to Miranda Sings, you can see that on Netflix, that rating is actually just PG. Family f***ing watch. Well, technically not the f***ing part. I added that for dramatic effect because what the f***? Plus, and a huge shout out to Lauren Esquire on Twitter for directing this to me. Your character is on the YouTube Kids app. Like, stop talking down to everyone. Colleen, please, as much as you might wish you were still talking to children, you're not.
Also, your website has not always said that Miranda Sings is a PG-13 character or content.
And we're back to the Colleen Ballinger Snarks subreddit. As you can see, this user went about fact-checking the quote, "She's PG-13, it says that on my website and it's always been that way." As they say on their post, they dove into the Wayback Machine to see if that's a true statement. Spoiler, it's not true. Until 2018, well past Miranda's heyday, Friday. There was no clear statement on the website about Miranda's shows having adult references. The disclaimer was added sometime between February 16th and February 24th, 2018. I ran through every year up to 2018, nothing. I even checked some of the external ticketing site links to see if a disclaimer was there, and it wasn't. And speaking of shows in years leading up to 2018, someone commenting under the post alleges the Wayback Machine archives her webpage advertising live shows all the way back to January 10, 2013. That means there was about 5 whole years she advertised/performed shows without even stating the bare minimum of PG-13. The reason people are finding this an important one to fact check is because of, as this comment mentions, the sexual references in the Miranda Sings show, such as the bae skit and the yoga challenge. We'll eventually get to talking about those more throughout this series, but for Colleen in this video to flippantly lie about this and write these things off and pretend that she was being more careful than she really was and kind of gaslight the audience is a big red flag worth pointing out to anybody who may not be aware that that is what she's doing here, at least in my opinion. Also in my opinion, adding a PG-13 rating is not a be-all end-all solution for this situation.
That means that you felt that your content was appropriate for 13-year-olds and upward, who, by the way, from 13 to 17 in the US of A is still a minor. So even that made it clear that you felt that your material was appropriate for at least some children.
There's a majority of people who interpreted that Miranda Sings as a character was at least appropriate for kids to watch, if not aimed toward kids. Because your shows were continuously attended by little children who you actually interacted with at every single one, because you would pull little tiny boys up onto the stage specifically for the bae skit.
We're on the date, James. It's really romantic. Oh, we're getting close and personal. Oh, but I'm so hungry, James. Hold on, I got a snack. Do you want a cheese ball?
I'd love one. I can't believe I'm reaching in there right now.
So you knew that there were little kids in your audience.
I didn't realize it was my responsibility to decide what was appropriate for every kid to see. I've always relied.
It's not your responsibility, but you have personally described your content as being something that kids can enjoy watching and that adults can enjoy watching. So what else is that supposed to mean?
One perfect example of this is this Q&A clip that landed on r/Colleen Ballinger snark, where Colleen seems to be answering a question where somebody asked if they are too old to attend her show, which immediately sets off a red flag to me about, oh, people think that mostly kids are attending these shows. Let's listen what Colleen has to say in response to that question.
I'm not too old to go to my show. One thing I take a lot of pride in with my live shows is that it is for all ages. Like, there are jokes that kids will laugh at, and there are jokes that will go over the kids' heads and are inappropriate, like sexual innuendos, like funny intellectual jokes that the parents laugh at. So one thing I like about my show is that there's kind of waves of laughter. You hear kids laugh at things and you hear adults laugh at things. And I try really, really hard to make the show entertaining for everyone, because I know that I have kids at my shows. I know that I have teenagers at my shows. I know I have adults at my shows. My audience is growing in both directions. So I'm getting fans that are younger and younger, and I'm getting fans that are older and older. And so I take that into consideration. You are not too old to be at my show. I am 31.
So if Colleen said that when she was 31 years old, that means this is from about 5 years ago in 2018. So just some quick red flags that I see here. Her as a 31-year-old woman, first of all, noting that her audience has teens and children in it, and as well as it getting older and older, it is getting younger and younger. And at the same time, focusing on how many adult jokes there are in the show. Like, yeah, there's some the kids will laugh at, but yeah, there's plenty of adult jokes that'll go over the kids' heads and you'll find them funny, because she's talking to someone who thinks that they're too old to attend the show. That's the other big red flag, is that, again, evidence that there was a community opinion that her content and her live shows were made for kids. She would know that people thought that, and all I can ask is, why didn't that give her some pause when it came to the inappropriate jokes in her content? Why did she think that all of these things were going over the kids' heads? Did she even really think that? Because based on her group chats with the weenies, her super fans, they were talking about these topics together. And And like, well, she knows that parents are bringing their kids to the live shows, so she wants to make jokes that entertain the parents, right? Let's say. But the YouTube videos, does she think that the kids are sitting there with their parents watching the YouTube videos together? Like, why do those need to have the inappropriate jokes in them that should go over the kids' heads and be appreciated by adults? The logic does not exist here. The inappropriate content only makes sense in her videos and show if it's there to serve a more nefarious purpose. And truly, I hate to say it, but to me, that's looking more and more like the only explanation that makes sense.
I don't think that Colleen is responsible for what every kid sees online, of course, but I do think that she bears at least some responsibility for what her audience sees. You cannot tell me that you have never once in your 15 years on YouTube checked your analytics and seen that the majority of people watching you are minors. Like, once you see that and realize that back in like 2009 or whatever, then yes, you do gain a responsibility toward your audience to make age-appropriate content. And I'm not saying it has to be Dora the Explorer, but this fake Dora the Explorer shit that you and Corey did certainly ain't it.
Let's look at this series of clips from this Sam and Labia series that are still online right now, and the majority of comments are from children.
I like mine small. I like it when I can cup things.
And I like mine a little bigger. You know, you have a nice one when you give it a pat and it bounces back. Can I smack yours?
Please. How does it feel?
It feels firm.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Go ahead and give it a nice little tug.
If the hole's big enough, you can fit your whole hand inside. Sometimes, if it's a really wide hole, you can put both hands in.
Yes.
Whole head in the hole and lick it clean.
I've heard that before.
Ooh, spooky.
I'm really scared.
Sam was saying that the internet was making my head so big, I couldn't even fit through the back door anymore.
It wasn't enjoyable with your head so big, Labia.
Yeah. We used the back door because Sam's pussy tries to escape through the front.
Yes. How fun. Look at this nice long slit for the mouth. Oh.
Can I scare you?
Very scary. So spooky, Labia.
I honestly get grossed out watching clips from this series, so I'm not going to make you watch any more of them. Adam has a bunch more clips in his video, The End of Colleen Ballinger's Career, so I will link that in my sources, which is where I got these clips from. This is parodying a children's show, so children are coming across this and finding it and watching it.
Regardless of different morals and parenting styles in America, the laws are written to require adults to protect kids regardless of whether they're your kids or not. Also, regardless of whether you agree that you're responsible or not, you took on that responsibility once you stated that your content was okay for parents and kids to watch, and once you gave a PG-13 rating, meaning that you think your stuff is at least okay for 13-year-olds and up to watch. And especially once you started bringing little prepubescent boys on stage to do skits with you. Once you knew kids were involved, invited kids to be involved, and involved kids at your live shows, you took on that responsibility rather than putting up some kind of a barrier and continuing to say, I want people to decide for themselves. I want parents to look at my content and decide if their kids should be watching it. That has not been like some big motto of your channel or anything. Finally, she says she's always relied on parents to decide if they're comfortable with their families watching her YouTube videos or her live shows. In my opinion, once you give your content a specific age rating like PG-13, and once you are asked by people if it's appropriate for kids and you come out and say, yes, it's appropriate for kids and for parents to watch together, that does put an image of appropriateness in front of parents and make them more trusting of your work. To be honest, I think that you knew about your responsibility, but just decided to ignore it. Knowing that if anyone ever complained, you could always just shift the blame to the parents. Aren't they an easy target? However, your refusal to acknowledge and accept responsibility doesn't mean that you're not actually responsible at the end of the day. Now, the next few lines in the song, I misheard every single time up until the live stream. We had a whole conversation about that on the stream. Feel free to watch the stream if you want to see that massive public slip up. But now here, to avoid going over that, I'm just going to read to you what the lines actually say. Now, have I made some jokes in poor taste? Yes. Have I made lots of dumb mistakes? Yes.
I'm sad that there's some fans who feel betrayed. Yes. Was my intention to manipulate? No.
So, we have 4 big statements here, don't we, folks? Maybe even 5. We'll get there. And let's note that these are not the lies and rumors that were made up for clout, because Colleen is confirming them and validating them as being true. So let's take a look, shall we? We start here with 2 admissions that she has made jokes in poor taste and made some dumb mistakes. In my opinion, both of these statements are purposefully ill-defined umbrellas that can apply to or not apply to a lot of the allegations that have been made against her. Next, number 3, she finally talks about feelings by saying she is sad that there are fans who feel betrayed. She doesn't admit to being the betrayer, but, you know, she wants her fans to know that she feels sad too. And finally, we get to number 4, which is the biggest one to me. Number 4, was it my intention to manipulate? No. That's it. So I don't know if you caught that, but she is not denying that she manipulated people. She's not denying that she manipulated people. The main crux of this whole thing, that she manipulated her fans for various reasons, which we'll get into during the rest of this series, she does not outright deny that she manipulated people. Here we are seeing that Colleen is so focused on intention that becomes her fatal flaw. She wrote this line, she brought this up so that she could shift people's focus away from what she did to what she meant to do. She's trying to make statement number 4 be about how she didn't mean it, but because she doesn't deny the action, she ends up making this like backhanded admission number 5 that yes, she did manipulate people. It's like, okay, yes, I manipulated people, but like, I didn't mean to, okay? Wait, what? I can't believe you're still mad at me. Seriously, how else am I supposed to read this? What else is this supposed to mean? She can't have any intentions for something that she never did. She has to clarify her intention because it did happen. She's admitting that she had manipulated people. She did it, not me. This came from her own mouth in one of her few serious moments in this video. So just try to tell me how that is some kind of a lie or a rumor that I made up for clout. Go ahead, try. Sorry if I'm getting a little feisty here, but like this is a huge deal for a lot of the allegations against her. A lot of them really revolve around the concept of manipulation, so no wonder her lawyers didn't want her to talk, if this is what she had to say.
It doesn't really matter what my intention was, because it seems as though everyone's already decided on that.
No, it doesn't matter what your intention was because the impact is what matters.
Colleen really clings on to intent, a very personal, internal element of any action. Technically, no one can truly tell her what her intention was. So this gives her flexibility to explain herself and reframe things so that we see her with a different intent. Like, yes, she messaged her fans and she had no boundaries, but it wasn't in a creepy way, it was in a loser way, like a weird aunt. Yes, she did some things that people didn't like in her past, but she didn't mean to offend people, and it wasn't offensive back then. They're just making it offensive now. Colleen may reframe things like this because that's what she actually believes, or because it's what she wants her fans to believe. I can't know for sure. But the problem with her focusing so much on her intent is that she ignores the other, arguably more important elements of this equation, like other people's interpretations of her actions and the impact of her actions on them. And try as she might, Colleen cannot have complete control over these elements. At the end of the day, you can't tell someone else how to think. You can't control how they interpret your actions and interactions. And if you don't think before you act or speak, you can't foresee and prevent the possible negative interpretations and impacts of your actions. Similarly, I can't tell Colleen what her intentions were, but I can take clues from how she responds to the negative impacts of her actions, like ignoring those impacts, calling them lies and rumors and toxic gossip, and demanding that people only focus on her intentions. And along these lines, very importantly, you can't allegedly do illegal actions and then make it all go away by saying that you meant it as a joke. Laws are laws, and hurt is hurt whether you meant to cause it or not. And based on your reactions to the impacts of your actions, let's just say, I do doubt your intentions.
It's not very fun to have millions of people all over the world call you the most vile, horrendous, disgusting, life-ruining words that a person can be called, in my opinion.
This is hilarious to me. The level that she's willing to go to victimize herself. Nobody thinks it's fun, hon. Nobody thinks it's fun.
I'm pretty sure that this section is only here to pull in Colleen's remaining audience and make them sympathize with her in case the previous admissions were raising too many red flags for them. However, for people like me who have no parasocial relationship with Colleen and who are steeped in the allegations against her, this section has the opposite effect.
Not only has Adam showed hundreds of messages and receipts and screenshots, 6, 7, 8 other people are coming forward also showing their receipts and their screenshots and their shit. No, it's not fun. We all hate this. What are you talking about? Nobody gives a shit about your feelings in this moment. My God, nobody gives a shit about whether you're having fun. Do you think that's what we're here for? So that you have fun? What the fuck? What? The use of fun in this video astounds me.
It doesn't matter that these things aren't true. Everyone just believes that you are the type of person who manipulates and abuses children.
The rest of my series will be focused on disproving the idea that everyone just believes that Colleen did these things that are alleged against her, because, spoiler alert, there's a lot of evidence behind people's claims. But before we get there, it's important to note that she states these things aren't true.
These things aren't true.
Without clarifying which things. Classic Colleen. Certainly she can't mean the things that she already admitted to in this video, such as manipulating people. And of course, the people you're referring to who are speaking out about things now were minors at the time, otherwise known as children. So what's that? What's that called? Oh, manipulating children?
Everyone just believes.
Oh no, wait, no, that one falls under the these things aren't true, but people just believe it category, even though a few lines ago she did just say that... Well, hey, as contradictory as that may seem, maybe it's not. Because after claiming that everyone just believes these things that aren't true, instead of taking the opportunity to clearly deny manipulating children, or to refute any of the evidence or specific claims that are circulating, she just nods at the camera with the disappointed, bitter acceptance of the bedraggled mother whose toddler is having a tantrum in the grocery store whether she likes it or not, and moves on. But not before I had a word with Colleen about all the denials that were missing from her video.
I'm here starting my series, trying to give you the most benefit of the doubt that I can by letting you tell your side of the story first. And so far, 6 minutes in to this 10-minute video, all you have done is spoken very vaguely about mistakes, jokes in poor taste. I used to message my fans without noting that they are minor fans that we're talking about, where the problem really lies, and what those messages were about. So whose fault is it that you're not having fun right now? How many times have I said on my channel, we don't want to believe that you're this way. We don't want this. We want influencers to be who you portray yourself to be. We don't want there to be these mask-off moments where suddenly we discover that you're some kind of a G-worder or inappropriate with minor. We don't want this. If you're not this way, show us. You have not done that. 6.5 minutes of entitled complaining is all you've showed us. She doesn't even bring out a defense of the screenshots are fake. She doesn't put forth a defense of, oh, that conversation was taken out of context. She doesn't even say that. She doesn't even say, like, I was sheltered and grew up very sheltered and religious and I didn't understand how to socialize. Like, none of that backstory stuff even comes up. It's just they made up lies and rumors for clout. That's it. So what are we to believe? If you're not going to make any statements, all we have is silence. What fills that gap is the other side of the story. We're going to give you your time, but we're going to get to the other side of that story because where you are silent, I think there's a reason that you're not offering anything in opposition.
So I just wanted to say that The only thing I've ever groomed is my 2 Persian cats. I'm not a groomer. I'm just a loser who didn't understand I shouldn't respond to fans and...
Several more important statements here. One, she says she's not a groomer, which is particularly interesting to me, considering she admitted to manipulating people, and manipulation is the main element of the type of grooming that she's been accused of. 2, she says she's just a loser, and I think that's just a cop-out. 3, she said she didn't understand she shouldn't respond to fans, and her use of the past tense there makes me think that she's referring to the past, and while she shares that she shouldn't have responded to fans, she doesn't share her thoughts about whether or not she should proactively reach out to fans, or form group chats with them, or stay in those group chats after learning that most of the people in that group chat were minors, or discussing certain inappropriate topics in those group chats, or privately DMing or texting one-on-one certain members of those group chats, including minors. All things that she's been accused of and seems to be alluding to, but once it comes to specifics, she's just silent about those.
I'm not a predator, even though a lot of you think so, because 5 years ago I made a fart joke.
So that's a big statement. Colleen denies being a predator and postulates that everybody thinks that she is a predator because 5 years ago she made a fart joke. More accurately, she made a queefing joke using a 16-year-old minor's body on stage in order to do so, just based on objectively looking at the footage from that event, and because of how often she has mentioned queefing throughout her career. But what do I know? Fuck me, right? Either way, this is a particularly interesting statement from Colleen for several reasons. First of all, I think it is further inaccurate because I think that the grooming allegations have more to do with why people think she's a predator. But secondly, isn't it interesting that Colleen has finally gotten specific? So far in her video, Colleen has only spoken about vague categories and patterns of behavior. But now, suddenly, she mentions a fart joke, a specific allegation made by a specific person. Now, she doesn't give any context, like what the allegation is actually about, which it's not about a fart joke, or who the allegation is made by, which is somebody who was a minor fan of hers at the time, or the fact that Colleen's fans have been relentlessly bullying this person ever since she spoke out about this allegation on her TikTok. No, instead, Colleen uses minimizing language to bitterly throw at her audience the idea that this one allegation is the reason that people think she's a predator. Could that possibly send more harassment from her fans against this person? Or could that possibly serve as a characterization of the allegations as a whole, thereby minimizing and downplaying everything that everybody else has said against her? I wonder how this particular factoid is being received by people who don't know much about this situation. And I also wonder what her superfans would possibly choose to do with this kind of bait.
So, even though I know this video won't change anyone's mind about me, I still felt it was important to come on here and defend myself a little and take accountability.
At what point did she defend herself or take accountability in this video? If anything, I feel like thus far I have pointed out how she did not do either of those things, so I don't know how she came to that conclusion.
And I also wanted to say that to anyone out there who has ever supported me in any capacity, I really, really appreciate you. Thank you. For what it's worth, I never had any bad intentions. But I do feel like shit.
Maybe you feel like shit because you're still focused on your intentions, which you may notice none of us are talking about because they don't matter, because ultimately the impact of your actions is what matters. I feel like a broken record on this. Do I sound like a broken record? Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna say it. These pauses, these faces that she's making, in and of themselves are not a statement, but holy God, the guilt trip she is attempting in this video by having all of that in there. These aren't words on a page. These aren't a literal written statement or spoken statement, but they serve a purpose in this video by forcing the viewer to take some time and focus on her raw emotions, aka trying to make them feel guilty because she's so visibly sad and upset. These are like the loudest, most tangible, most desperate silences I've ever heard.
The toxic gossip train, jogging down the tracks of misinformation. Toxic gossip train, you got a one-way ticket to manipulation. station, toxic gossip train. You tie me to the tracks and harass me for my past. Rumors look like facts when you don't mind the gaps. I won't survive in the crash, but hey, I hope you had some fun. Actually, I feel like maybe I should let you guys know something. Maybe you're confused about something. I don't know.
Anytime you tell someone that they're confused about something, you know that what's coming next can't be good.
Let me try to help. Sometimes people make a mistake and it doesn't make them a horrible person. Whoa. Sometimes people can make a mistake and they're still a good person. Crazy, I know. Sometimes people can make a mistake and you don't have to take that mistake. Oh no. And twist it up and grind it and add some lies to it and pulverize it and stab it with knives and ruin a life and oh no. Sometimes people can make a mistake. It doesn't mean you gotta send them hate. Oh no. Sometimes people can make a mistake and you can kindly let them know and help them to grow. Sometimes people make mistakes simply because they made a mistake. And that mistake doesn't make them a terrible human. It just makes them a human.
So, there's a lot of statements in that section, and based on how general they are, who knows how they would be applied in a court of law, in a trial, by a lawyer, that type of thing, which I know I've been referring back to, but of course, I don't know what legal action may or may not ever happen, maybe nothing, who knows, but I think these statements are still important because they speak to her mindset and they speak to her audience. Based on that section, I think that Colleen really wants to have her cake and eat it too. She wants to be allowed to make mistakes and then kindly alerted to her mistakes so that she can grow from them without also having to deal with fixing her mistake, the messy, unpleasant part of mistakes. The fact that mistakes can hurt other people, especially when you're a public figure like Colleen, which can make other people validly upset and can make them validly criticize her and validly expect her to right the wrong. Most mistakes require fixing via an apology, making it up to somebody, paying somebody back, or in a more intense situation, some kind of penalty or fee or punishment. That's how you get to justice. And or people require a time period of you proving yourself that you can be trusted not to make the same mistake again. Just your word is not very much. Therefore, especially if you want the freedom to be able to gallivant about making mistakes left and right and only be kindly approached about it, in return for that freedom, people must also be free not to forgive you in your timing on your terms. And even beyond all of that, some mistakes are so bad that you still go to jail for them. And some mistakes aren't just single mistakes, they're patterns of behavior. Like a lot of what Colleen is being called out about is patterns of behavior. Colleen's lack of nuance here definitely tells me that she's used to talking about this topic with children, either her own children or her online child fan base. Colleen also seems to think that people lied about her mistakes, the ones that she'll admit to anyway, and blew them way out of proportion, twisting them up and adding lies to them and pulverizing them and ruining her life. Whoa. But perhaps she should consider that perhaps the reality is that people are just describing how deeply her actions impacted them because of the fact that she is a public figure, social media star that these people loved growing up. They have a deep parasocial relationship with her, and her actions are so much more impactful to them as a result. Just because you may not acknowledge or believe in the power dynamic and the parasocial relationship there does not mean that it is not real. But hey, I get it. It's easier not to believe their stories. And it's easier for you to think that they're lying in order to get back at you over something that you apparently didn't do, rather than thinking that you actually hurt them that deeply. Wouldn't we all like to take the easy way out of our mistakes? Simply put, This whole section makes me think that Colleen wants us to treat her, a 36-year-old woman who is the mother of multiple children, the way we would treat the main character in a children's show like Daniel Tiger or Dora the Explorer, where the lesson is easy to learn, consequences are minimal, every character abounds with grace and patience, and nothing really significant happens to anyone. But the reality of this situation and adult life in general is far more complicated than that, whether you like it or not. If Colleen really wants to be treated in this infantilized manner, then honestly, I suggest that she
Get off the internet! What do I know? Fuck me, right?
Well, I didn't have to say it. Thank you to Newsweek for the transcription.
After that positively rousing finale, let's recap all the statements that Colleen made in this video. And what a list it is! When I was doing my live stream, I thought it would be shorter, but somebody doesn't know how to follow their lawyer's advice and be quiet. So there's a lot of statements here. I did my best to cut out questions and opinions and just stick to things that she is stating as though they are fact, even though I think it's arguable that some of these could be considered her opinion or her perception, and others of them can absolutely be disproved by evidence that is available publicly on the internet as we speak. And at the time that she made this video saying these things. But as many statements as Colleen has made, I do feel that there are some significant silences in this video as well. I wrote a few down as we went, but there are some more I would like to add, so let's do that together. First of all, there's an overall lack of affirmative denials.
I meant affirmative defenses here. Affirmative defense is a legal term, so this is how you know I'm not a lawyer. I'll read from Cornell Law School's definition of this. An affirmative defense is a defense in which the defendant introduces evidence which, if found to be credible, will negate criminal liability or civil liability, even if it is proven that the defendant committed the alleged acts. The party raising the affirmative defense has the burden of proof on establishing that it applies. Raising an affirmative defense does not prevent a party from also raising other defenses. Self-defense, entrapment, insanity, necessity, and respondeat superior are some examples of affirmative defenses. Basically, what this means is going beyond saying, no, I didn't do that, or no, this isn't true, and giving some kind of evidence proving it, like, no, I didn't steal that dog, I'm allergic to dogs, here's my allergy test from my doctor proving that I'm allergic to dogs. Or saying, even if I did do it, it was totally justified. Like if you're being accused of hitting someone, saying, yeah, I did it, but it was totally justified because they were coming at me and it was self-defense. While also providing some evidence that they were in fact coming at you, so it was in fact self-defense.
Or, I didn't say those things in that group chat, I'm not part of that group chat. Here you can scroll back through the group chat and see, I'm not there, I'm not speaking in it the whole entire time that it existed.
In a legal sense, this is not required from a defendant. The burden of proof is on the person who is making the accusations. But affirmative defenses always stick out to me when they are there, and the lack of them also sticks out to me.
Even though she says that she defended herself in this video, Colleen did not give any affirmative defenses like this. There's also an overall lack of evidence. Colleen does not discuss any of the evidence against her, nor does she really bring up any evidence in her favor. There's just no evidence. In general, Colleen does not refute any specific allegations or any specific stories that have come out about her, other than providing her perspective that she made a fart joke 5 years ago. But even in doing so, that's not quite a refute because it doesn't present what the other side said and then say, this is not what happened, actually this happened. It's just an allusion to something that, like, if you know, you know, but there are plenty of people watching this who probably don't know. The most that she does is make general references to lies and rumors and toxic gossip, but if I was watching this video without knowing her entire world and without diving into everything, if I was looking for her side of the story first, this would not tell me what is going on that she feels she needs to come on here, defend herself about, and take accountability for. Also, it's confusing that she's trying to take accountability for things that are lies. So did they happen or not? And along that line of thought, she does not really specify what is true or lies. She also does not address specific claims other than the fart joke comment and mentioning that she used to message her fans. She does not mention that the majority of her fans are minors. She is silent about the fact that it was a lot of group chats going on, and she is silent on the content of those group chat messages or the private conversations that she had with people. She says a bit that she used to overshare in DMs, but DMs means one-on-one private conversation. What about the group chats? She is not acknowledging the group chats. Yeah, and as I wrote down here, she doesn't acknowledge that the members of group chats were mostly minors, so I can get rid of that. because I already have that up here. She does not deny manipulating people, which is something that I've already talked about a lot. She does not address the Trisha Paytas situation at all, which is probably one of the most important situations out of this whole situation. And as I said before, while she does acknowledge that she shouldn't have responded to fans who messaged her, she does not share her thoughts about whether she should be proactively reaching out to form group chats, staying in those group chats once she learned that they were mostly minors, discussing inappropriate topics in those group chats of mostly minors, or DMing and texting individuals from those group chats, including minors. She also does not address the claims that are made against her associates. So she does not address Josh, her ex-husband. She does not address Trent, her brother. Most importantly, she does not address Corey, which I think is particularly interesting because Corey has been by her side throughout most of this, and in my opinion, he is just as guilty as Colleen in most of this.
At least that's how it seems to me, because he's by her side and has always been. Which leads me to ask, why has there been so little discussion about Corey overall in this situation? Like, truly, am I missing something? Did something happen? Why are we not talking about Corey in this overall discussion? Or if he is being proportionally discussed, please tell me where that's happening, because I am not seeing it in YouTube commentary videos, to be honest.
In this video, Colleen also does not address the behavior of her own remaining superfans, who I think are worth addressing, because I don't know if you've heard, Cole, there's been a lot of allegations about them doing a lot of bullying and harassing and doxing. Isn't that something you should speak out about, Cole? In this video, Colleen also barely acknowledges the potential impact she has had on her fans, only mentioning that they feel betrayed, but there is also so much more there. And most of all, she does not apologize for anything, even what she is willing to admit to. Particularly important to me, and I think the way that you can sum all of this up in one line is, overall, Colleen does not provide context for her video. She's very selective about what she chooses to talk about. She doesn't talk about her own behavior in very specific language at all. She doesn't talk about all of the evidence that's out there that shows that she is the one who, in the past, has certainly incited some mobs and has certainly conducted some toxic gossip trains of her own in the past. So here, Call, you forgot. I can't reach. You forgot this. She also makes selective comments about things that have happened to her in the past, such as in the ending section when Colleen is talking about how everybody makes mistakes and people should just kindly let them know and help them to grow. She leaves out any conversation about the 2020 event with Adam McIntyre and herself when he did kindly let her know that she had hurt him and made a mistake, but according to him, she was too busy going around and spreading lies about him to pay attention to what he had to say. Colleen does not provide any of that context in this song, nor for any of these really categories where she remains silent. I know this list is shorter than her statements list, but that's because each of the things on this list are not individual specific statements, they're categories where she just didn't say a word. And I'm sure that there are more. Let me know in the comments below other silences that stuck out to you in this song. In summary, despite Colleen being very selective in her statements and all of the things that she did not address, the statements that she did make, in general, were not good for her. She tried to tell her side of the story, but it was so vague that somebody unaware would not come out of that video really knowing what was going on, other than that Colleen felt she had been lied about. Like, they wouldn't even really know what those lies were because Colleen did admit to things in this video. All that was clear was that Colleen was mad about it. So yeah, Colleen, no wonder your team and your lawyers did not want you to say what was said in this song. They probably also didn't want you to sing it, to be honest. And speaking of her lawyers, you want to know who else made some really selective statements about this whole situation? Colleen's lawyers. Let's take a look.
Chapter 2. The Vanity Fair article.
The next and final statement that we have is via her lawyers on Vanity Fair. Vanity Fair tweeted this article July 19th of 2023 at about 5:30 p.m. my time zone. Since then, as of July 28th at 11:30-ish a.m. when I took this screenshot, a community note has been added under this article on Vanity Fair's actual tweet.
And as of today, Sunday, August 13th at 11:57 a.m. my time zone, things have changed. Let me show you. So here I am on Twitter, or X, I don't know what it's called because the website is still twitter.com. But I'm scrolling back through their timeline trying to get down to the original tweet from July 19th where this article was. And would you look at that? After scrolling through hundreds of posts, because they post like 10 times a day for some goddamn reason at Vanity Fair. Here we have July 26th. Oh, would you look at that? I can't go back far enough to see the actual tweet from July 19th. What I can do is look it up, and you can see I just looked for it. Vanity Fair, Colleen Ballinger. And there's comments criticizing the article, but as for the tweet with the article itself, oh, here it is. No more community note added. Very interesting to me. I wonder why. Let me just check. So this is not the same tweet. Turns out they tweeted this article multiple times. The one that I have listed in my video was tweeted at 5:32 p.m. on July 19th, whereas the one that I'm looking at here on the internet is from 1:32 p.m. July 19th. That one is still up and it has no community note. I wonder if they took down the other one from 5:32. Maybe it's this one? Yes, there it is. And this one has the community note. This one from 5:32 p.m. So, isn't that interesting? There's multiple versions of this tweet. One of them has a community note added, the other one does not. Be careful with your research on Twitter. This is crazy to me. I hate it. All right, let's move on.
So what it originally reads here is, Colleen Ballinger's downfall is the product of a particular era of YouTube stardom, where a digital persona is able to cultivate a feverish fandom that's been trained to reverse course with the first spilling of tea. I don't think that's an accurate depiction of YouTube fandoms in general, which immediately makes me think that this article, if the person who wrote the article is the same person who wrote that tweet to go alongside it, it's written by someone who's out of touch with how modern YouTube fandoms work, in my opinion. But the title is, How the Miranda Sings / Colleen Ballinger Scandal Went Off the Rails. Train jokes. Everything you need to know about the drama that's tearing YouTube apart. The community note says readers added context they thought people might want to know. Colleen Ballinger's inappropriate sexual and offensive behavior is in her content and live shows. Adam McIntyre's claims have been verified by witnesses. Other people have come forward with their experiences with her. This evidence intensified because of her response song. And it links to another article by Vulture. So if Twitter is putting a warning on your tweet that the article you tweeted is that out of touch with the reality of the situation, that's really not a good sign. All right, so let's read about how the Miranda Sings / Colleen Ballinger scandal went off the rails. Everything you need to know about the drama tearing YouTube apart.
All right, listen, since this video has turned out way longer than I thought it was going to, I'm going to save us all some time here. We're not going to read through the article together in this video. I read through it in the live stream. It was much more of a reaction style reading rather than what I was trying to do today, just pulling out statements and noting silences. Feel free to check that out. What I'm going to do instead is point out two major things here. One, the journalistic flaw that I mentioned about this article way back at the beginning of this video. And two, the statements and silences that I see in this article, which I promise we're going to get to. But first, let's just say, the subtitle for this article is Everything We Need to Know About This Scandal, and I beg to differ. You see, just like in Colleen Ballinger's Choo Choo Sing-Along Non-Apology song, this article contains some noticeable silences. And this might seem strange since this is the only publication where Colleen and her team actually responded to requests for comment and spoke on Colleen's behalf. That's right, all those other articles that were written about this situation asked Colleen for her side of the story, but she didn't respond to them, so naturally those articles came out a little bit one-sided against Colleen. And I'm not gonna lie, this Vanity Fair article also feels a bit one-sided, but for a very different reason. So you know how I keep talking about a journalistic flaw? Well, the Vanity Fair article describes this YouTube event by giving it two main characters to focus on. Colleen Ballinger, of course, and Adam McIntyre, a 20-year-old YouTuber and ex-Colleen stan who has become the figurehead of this wave of allegations against her. However, while Vanity Fair obviously asked Colleen for her input on this article, Adam McIntyre says that they never asked him for his side.
Vanity Fair posted an article that is incredibly awful. It is lying about me. It gets facts about me wrong for no reason. It paints me as a stalker. All these like defamatory things, right? And they didn't reach out to me for an interview. They didn't reach out to me for a comment, even at a bare minimum. However, there is someone in the article that is featured very, with their statements, and it's Colleen's lawyer. They got an opportunity to speak, but I didn't. I gave Vanity Fair 24 hours to reach out to me to make a comment and correct this, and they chose not to do that. There was one change made to the article, which means that Vanity Fair knew that there is inaccuracies in the story and chose to change something. Do you want to know what they changed? A former fan, Adam McIntyre, a then 17-year-old, Ballinger was his idol, and her merch could be seen all over the Irish teenager's bedroom. This was the sentence in this entire article that was changed. The original thing said, McIntyre, who grew up in Brighton, England. They were given the opportunity. My mother has been reaching out to the journalist. I have been putting posts out, directly tagging the journalist. He doesn't have Twitter, but the Instagram that he's posting the stories on, this is it. And I want to ask him why he worked on such a hit piece against me and didn't even, ask me for a comment. So there's his Instagram, which, is now... Did he delete it? He's blocked me. He's blocked me.
How odd. Now I could sit here and speculate and think up several uncouth reasons why Vanity Fair may have done this. Like maybe the article's 23-year-old author is a massive Colleen stan and used his platform to prove it. Or maybe this Vanity Fair article is a PR piece that Colleen's team paid for. But hey, I'm no journalist. I don't know what due diligence means or what journalistic ethics are. And I certainly don't work for Vanity Fair, so what do I know? Fuck me, right? Anyway, I just thought it was worth making that note before we get into reading this article and Colleen's statements within. By allegedly not interviewing Adam or even reaching out to him asking him to comment, this article was set up to be as favorable to Colleen as possible. Very much a safe space for Colleen to speak her mind, or for her lawyers to, since that's who's actually quoted in this article. So, under these extremely sympathetic, beneficial circumstances, let's see what Colleen's team has to say, and where she chooses to stay silent. I didn't notice this before. It says all aboard up here above the title of the article. Oh, God. This article, which I already read the title for, it's long, describes this whole situation from a very Colleen-friendly point of view. I feel like everybody who's read this article can come away saying that. They start out describing who Colleen is, and then they move on to the bad stuff. They say that Rolling Stone broke this story, which is only true if you ignore the existence of YouTube. But importantly, they mention right at the beginning that the magazine, Rolling Stone, verified screenshots of texts in which Ballinger asked a minor about their virginity status and their favorite sexual position. She also asked them to send pictures of their body. I don't know what else needs to be read about after a statement like that. Like, what else is there to talk about? Of course, you have to qualify that by saying, however inappropriate her alleged behavior was, the article clarified that no sexual crime had been committed and no evidence in review even hinted at the possibility that Ballinger had intended to start a sexual relationship with a child, and that Ballinger did not respond to Rolling Stone's multiple requests for comment. That's what I was talking about. So again, we're going to qualify this by going with the straw man because nobody has really suggested that Colleen has intended to start a sexual relationship with any of the children she was talking to. But yeah, astute point that it was inappropriate for her to text things like that to a minor. And that's kind of the pattern of this article. It muddies the waters a lot. It brings up an allegation and says, well, I don't know, because you could and maybe. However, what I noticed most going back through this article after having my live stream is that Colleen's lawyers, who are speaking for her as her representatives, do not say a lot during this article. This paragraph right here contains all 2 of the statements that Colleen's lawyer was willing to make in response to this article. I'll read one of them right here. In the ensuing weeks, after the Rolling Stone piece that they mentioned before, Ballinger would be accused of everything from performing a Beyoncé song in blackface as Miranda Sings to texting a sex worker's nude photos to a minor. That is Trisha Paytas, and it's more complicated than that, of course. But I'm not getting into it right now. We'll get into that later on in the timeline. And then here's the response in parentheses. Ballinger's legal team has denied she performed in blackface, saying she was wearing green face paint for a prior cover of a song from Wicked. And I think this is the most glaringly obvious example of silence speaking volumes. The fact that her legal team had something to say about the allegation of her performing in blackface, but no response to the allegation of her texting a sex worker's nude photos to a minor, which is a crime, by the way, is exactly the point of this video. There is so much here that Colleen and her team are not talking about, are not willing to talk about, and I think there's an important reason as to why. It's especially interesting the contrast between these two events that are mentioned. Colleen performing as Miranda, doing a Beyonce song in blackface, but her saying, no, it was green face paint, to me feels like another echo of this idea of intention. My intention was not to do blackface, my intention was to do Wicked, and I happened to have green face paint on when I happened to go on into the next song, which was a Beyonce song. It wasn't an intention to do blackface, it just happened to happen because it happened to. But the second accusation about her texting something to somebody, where there should be screenshots, there should be evidence, there should be hard proof of what happened or didn't happen. She's not responding about the allegation. She's not trying to debunk the evidence. She's not even willing to say Trisha Paytas's name. Silence on that topic, and God is it loud. And let's go into the next part of the paragraph. Her Sings tour, Colleen's Miranda Sings tour, has since been canceled, her career abruptly stalled. When reached for comment, Ballinger's lawyer replied in an email that VF's inquiries were, quote, simply a regurgitation of the baseless and unsubstantiated claims that other media outlets and individuals on social media have reported previously, unquote. And that is it. That is all the legal team has to say. They say that the claims against Colleen are baseless and unsubstantiated, which first of all is extremely vague. Which claims are you talking about there, pal? Because baseless and unsubstantiated are two very interesting words to choose considering the number of screenshots online of the messages Colleen sent and considering the undoctorable Instagram account whose DMs Adam McIntyre scrolled through in a video. I'm sorry, Photoshop isn't that good. You can't go through your active, logged-in Instagram account and make those messages say something that they don't actually say. And secondly, the fact that Vanity Fair is regurgitating some claims that other media outlets and individuals have reported previously, so what? So what if they're repeating what somebody else has said? That does not make it false. I'm waiting, lawyer, please. If there's evidence that supports Colleen being innocent, I'd like to know. I'm not her fan, but I also need to be accurate in what I say in my video. But I think there's a reason that nothing has been presented. I think there's a reason that her lawyer is not coming out and saying that these claims are false. He's calling them claims, he's calling them baseless and unsubstantiated, but that is not the same as saying that they are false. Are we seeing this? Am I getting through to you? Her lawyer is not even willing to say that these things did not happen. Hello? The silence. The things that are not being said right now. The rest of this article is essentially very pro-Colleen and specifically very anti-Adam. It paints Adam in a very particular light that is not accurate, at least in my opinion, and in the opinion of any objective observer looking at this situation who has no horse in the race. The way that Adam has talked about this article, 0% of me would be surprised if a lawsuit sprung up over this, because that's how questionable this article is in terms of how it talks about Adam. Somehow the author ends this article by writing, if there's one thing the saga of Colleen Ballinger and her fans has taught us, it's that today's YouTube winner is tomorrow's loser. However, that's not my takeaway from this whole situation. My takeaway is what I pointed out here at the beginning of the article, with Rolling Stone verifying screenshots about Colleen asking a minor about their virginity status, their sexual position, and asking them to send pictures of their body. And the lawyer's two extremely selective statements in this article, a broad denial and one specific denial. And so many denials that were not given. So much evidence that was not addressed. So many specifics that were not even named. So much silence, which Colleen has a right to, but which does not leave a good impression, in my opinion. Not much to add to the list there.
Chapter 3. Colleen's Side of the Story.
So where does that leave us? Here at the end of this video, where we're trying to decipher and lay out Colleen's side of this story. That was our goal coming into this video, so let's take another look at what exactly she has to say. We went through this list before, of course, so I don't want to review the whole thing again, but let me point out some main points that I think were the most important ones that Colleen wanted to hit because, like, it's a time when she slowed down or when she made eye contact with the camera extra, stuff like that. For example, she believes the allegations against her are not quite true. Her demeanor throughout this video is condescending, bitter, and sarcastic. She mentioned multiple times that she's being harassed for her past. I think she believes that she's the victim of a hate mob because that is what she described in multiple ways at multiple times throughout this song. She'll admit that she made jokes in poor taste, she made some dumb mistakes, she is sad that her fans feel betrayed, and that it was not her intention to manipulate. However, she won't deny manipulating. She won't deny a lot of various allegations that have been made against her. And in fact, she won't even bring them up or bring up the evidence against her in that regard. I think that that's something that her fans were looking for from her, to be honest. As much as some fans might see this video as like a sick roast of everybody who's attacking her or something like that, and yes, there are some kind of defenses in here that they can use to defend her, like that she was trying to be best friends with her fans, she saw her fans as her friends, and that she is a reasonable person because she thinks it's important to hold people accountable for their mistakes. As much as some fans may respond positively to this video, I think that there are others who were looking for a little more. In terms of getting specific, addressing specific allegations, addressing the evidence that are supporting those allegations, and giving an honest effort to debunk the evidence, therefore refuting the allegation. But that's not something she does. She doesn't even say that the claims against her are false, and neither does her lawyer, to be honest with you. She'll say things like, they aren't quite true, but that just leaves me with questions. That does not leave me with confidence that she did not do these things. According to her, everyone just believes that she is the type of person who manipulates and abuses children. She's not a groomer, she's just a loser. She didn't understand she shouldn't respond to fans. And she's not a predator. She never had any bad intentions. She feels like shit over this whole thing. And most importantly, I think to her, because this is the ending message she leaves us with, sometimes people make mistakes simply because they make a mistake, and a mistake doesn't make them a terrible human. It just makes them human. So Colleen's version of events is that she's being lied about, she's being attacked. There are certain things that she did, but everybody is blowing everything out of proportion, and what she did were just mistakes that should be taken as mistakes, not that are indicative of her being a terrible human. So there you go, Colleen. I hope that I accurately distilled your song and your lawyer's statements into those couple of sentences right there, except that I'll add both you and your lawyers do not outright deny everything that's been claimed against you. Especially manipulating people. That stuck out to me, personally. Speaking of other things that are not said, I went through this list before as well, and I think that I can add to it an overall lack of comment on articles that are being written about this situation, except the Vanity Fair article, and all that they gave there were two statements about her not performing in blackface, and that the claims against Colleen are baseless and unsubstantiated, not false. So again, these categories of places where Colleen has remained silent, especially these top four, with the overall lack of affirmative defenses, lack of evidence in her favor, the fact that in general she does not refute any specifics, and that she does not specify what is true or what is a lie, again, leaves me with a lot more questions than confidence. I think the best thing that Colleen can do, at least in terms of the court of public opinion, is come out and say something about any or all of this. I don't think that will go so well in her favor legally, though. So I understand why Colleen is not saying a lot right now. I understand why you're choosing to remain silent. But understand that in this case, with all of these allegations against you, with all the evidence that exists, that silence speaks volumes. Starting with my next Colleen Ballinger video, we will be going chronologically through all of the allegations and accusations made against her. Hopefully this will fill in some of the blanks that you may have felt during this video, because Colleen didn't talk about stuff, and to stay on topic, I didn't either. Let me know your thoughts on everything in the comments below. Did you see other statements that Colleen made? Did you see other silences that I maybe didn't put on my list? Please add those as well. I hope that you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and set your notifications to all because I'm planning to post here a bit more often and to do live streams, so I hope that you can join me with those. Also, hey, check out my description because I'm going to have my sources for this video linked there alongside my other social medias and my Patreon in case you want to check those out and support me there as well. Also, and I say this cautiously, I don't want to overpromise, but I'm working on designing some merch, so let me know what you want in that regard as well. I'm very excited about it. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. Please don't send hate as a result of this video to anybody that I mentioned. Let the toxicity go here at the end of this video. I know this has been a very thick topic to say the least, but you don't have to carry it with you as you move forward into the rest of your day. On that note, peace be with you always. Goodbye.
You know, took out. Could you?
What? Every loud vehicle is going by my house right now. Do that again, not in PIP. Seriously, fuck, let me go back to the line. And along that line of thought, she does not specify why is this underlined.
Hi, buddy. Oh, here he comes. No, maybe? Come here, bye-bye. Hey, baby. Oh. Here, see? All right, I promise we're gonna start talking about Colleen in just a second. All right, everybody say hi. And then I'm going to let him go. Ooh. He's, what's this, July? So he's about, yeah, he's 2. He's still 2. Oh, buddy. All right, fine. I'll start here. I have to start, Mr. Purr. I have to. Okay, well, this is where we're starting.